The Atomic Real Estate Show, bringing you the real estate of real estate. Brought to you by Danny Bennett Productions in partnership with DirectSubs.
This episode is brought to you by Downtown Mechanical. Downtown Mechanical is your one-stop shop for all of your HVAC needs, residential and light commercial. Downtown Mechanical specializes in installation of full units, swap outs, repair, service, rooftop units, mini split systems, heat pumps, whatever you need HVAC-wise. I personally use them on all of my properties. Matt Rispo is the owner. Great guy. I love working with them. They accept credit cards, free estimates, and they offer financing. You can get a hold of them at downtownmechanicalllc.com or by phone 215-617-3768.
Hi, everybody. Ryan Dolan here, back with another episode of the Atomic Real Estate Show. We are with our co-host, Nick Cessna, and we have a very special guest today. We have CJ from the founder of DirectSubs. Gave me a great t-shirt today. So CJ, thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Happy to be here. Happy to close out season 2 of the Atomic Real Estate Show with you guys.
Thank you very much. That's we saved the best for last, of course, obviously. So Nick, I know it took a little bit to get you on, but Nick did what he did best, kind of get you on here. But realistically, we want you to we want to tell our viewers what it is you do and who the guy behind the camera is pulling some strings here. So.
Yeah, trying to get me on. We're all friends here, and this is probably the most uncomfortable thing for me. I feel it already. The dry mouth, the heart palpitations, the heightened sensitivity. There's probably a 50% chance I may get up and just run out of here.
Oh, man.
Any second.
Hey, Danny felt the same way from being, he's sitting behind the camera now. He felt the same way, and he was nervous. He's like, man, I don't know about this. I'm never really in front of the camera. And then, like everyone else says, and what I told you, like everyone says, after 5 minutes talking to you guys, they're like, I'm just talking to two guys. And it's just, I forgot we're in front of a camera.
Yeah, you kind of do. And really, again, you have so much value and you have such a great product here and platform that so many people, it can help so many people, right? Because there's struggling real estate investors out there. There's contractors that need work. And the concept of your company, DirectSubs, is phenomenal. I want to learn a little bit more about it. Nick's a general contractor, obviously, so this is your world where you guys can geek out. But tell us a little bit about the company, what it is, how you started it.
Well, as you guys know, I've been investing in real estate for 20 plus years at this point. And
God damn.
A while ago, probably 2018, I realized the disconnect between real estate investors and contractors who typically work with real estate investors. There's people constantly calling me, asking me who I use for painting, roofing, electrical work, HVAC stuff, whatever the case may be. And on the other hand, there's contractors who are constantly looking for work. Some of them are uber busy until they're not. And let's face it, a lot of contractors are not out marketing themselves, are not networking the way they ought to be in order to have a successful company. So I figured, what if I could create a platform, like a marketplace type platform, to where it would be, just that, a marketplace. Investors could post a project. Contractors who work in that area and specialize in that discipline would immediately receive a notification in the form of an email, and it would be a snapshot of the project. If they were interested, they would apply, and the real estate investor would get all these real-time applications, be able to basically review the contractor, their strong points, their qualities, what they specialize in, and decide whether or not if they want to engage them or not. So the first iteration of DirectSubs was rough around the edges, to put it lightly. It was, in the industry, they refer to it as like an MVP, a minimum viable product, just to test the market to see if you can gain traction, to kind of see if the idea makes sense. And it did gain traction. There was well over 1,000 people who registered in the greater Philadelphia area. But the two problems was, one, I was too early. Sometimes being a little too early is the same as being wrong.
Yeah.
You know, people using their phones to connect, contractors using their phones in that capacity. You know, it was a little too early for that. The second part and the bigger part was the tech was underwhelming. It didn't work well. It was rough around the edges. Once again, it was a minimum viable product, but I didn't iterate quick enough to kind of bring it up to speed of what people were expecting.
That had to be a huge learning curve, the tech stuff.
Huge.
Well, what year did you start when did you get the idea and kind of get it up and running?
So the
18, he said.
idea-
18. He said 18.
Yeah,
too.
the
Okay.
idea was like 2017. It took a while for me to kind of connect with the right people in order to bring it to fruition. You know, I'm a tangible person. I'm used to things I can touch and see. You know, working in real estate and then switching my thinking to conceptual thinking, you know, technology, and trying to create something that wasn't. It was just totally foreign to me
Sure.
as a concept, and it definitely was a learning curve. To Nick's
I mean,
point.
that's like a different. Everything.
I was going to
Everything
say,
was
do you
different.
have a
Yes.
background in tech at all, or are you
Not
just
at
pretty
all.
organized
Not-
person?
Not at all.
Okay.
And dealing with the type of people, different personalities, you know, technology people,
highly different individuals. than
highly different
contractors.
people,
They're
than
like way different
contractors and the people that I was accustomed to running jobs, and you know, so it was interesting, and now I'm excited because I have a different team, a stronger team in some ways behind me, a different developer, and a new platform that was rebuilt from the ground up, taking a lot of what I thought was useful. And, you know, it's an iterative process. So there was a lot of things that I thought I wanted it to do that turns out didn't need to be there, or I missed the mark on it based on feedback. So the platform now is brand new, in the process of relaunching it, bringing on a social media team, and it's much more reflective of what I think it should be in this next phase.
So as you're kind of picking this thing up, rolling, you're taking your licks. Obviously, the tech's catching up though, which is a good thing. So you take your learning curves, you bust this out. So kind of what was the turning point there? Just kind of shifting the roster up, getting stronger team members, seeing the vision. How did it kind of get to where it is today?
The big thing was, for me, connecting with a developer who I could communicate with in real time and make tweaks in real time to make changes, ideate with, talk about. The previous company I worked with were great. You know, the CEO, he's a friend of mine, extremely smart. He's even a mentor. Problem was, big company. He has a very successful company, and working with someone like me, a small startup founder who needs things to happen on a budget because I'm not making any money on
Small
this thing
fish in
yet.
a big pond.
Yeah, exactly. It's taking a while for things to happen and whisper down the lane. So a big thing was for me being able to find a person who can create and bring to fruition exactly DirectSubs how I visualize it. And that's what I've been working on and behind the scenes for the last like 9 months, trying to perfect this app. And we're about 95% there. However, it's open, it's launched right now. You know, we're repopulating it. There's already people pouring in, not pouring in, but dripping in.
Well, let's get them pouring. And tell us a little bit
Well,
about
yeah,
how you
yeah.
kind of get started. So say I'm just a regular guy. I got some cash. I buy a place in, let's use Manayunk since we're all from there, right?
Yeah, sure.
We buy a $200,000 row home in Manayunk. Oh crap! I don't have any connections. I don't have any brothers, any family. I don't want to open, my phone, Google, Yellow Pages, whatever it is, and call contractors because I wouldn't even know where to start. What's the deal? Where's my first step?
Yeah, that's a great example. That's an ideal textbook example of how I envision the web-based application to help people. So you just bought this house, this 3-bedroom, 1-bath row home in Manayunk, and you're new to the flipping game or rental game. Maybe you're going to renovate it and rent it out. you're going to need a demo contractor probably first in order to clean it out, and then maybe do some selective demo, or maybe you're going to demo the whole thing because it's in irreparable form. You'll go to DirectSubs, you'll register, you will post a new project. It takes about a minute to do. You'll give it a title. You'll pick a date as to when you need somebody to get started about. You will select a category. In this example, it would be demolition and cleanouts. You would write a brief, a paragraph of what you're looking for. Whole house needs to be cleaned out, 1,200 square foot home, need to demo the kitchen and the bathroom, in addition to pulling up carpets and
trim doors.
yeah, some selective
Fixtures.
demo throughout. You might even want to upload a couple pictures of the property. Pictures speak volume. And then you click post this project.
So the pictures will help just kind of, the contractor
Exactly.
to know if they even have the capability to take on a job
Yeah.
like this. What about zoning and permits? Isn't one of that kind of the first steps as you buy this house? It's like, oh crap, I can't pull a dumpster out and just start ripping this place apart.
Yeah, that's another really good point. So I did, and this is almost going to seem scripted, because I did include a checkbox on there that if you check it, it says that people need to be licensed and insured because they may need to pull certain permits. So if that's applicable, which it's not always applicable, you
Clean outs, you don't need permits.
That's what I mean.
You can clean out anything. So a hoarder house getting cleaned out, you don't need permits.
Yeah.
You don't even need to be really a licensed person to do any of that.
So you can go in, just demo, or just clean it out. You
Clean
can't start
out.
ripping out walls,
You
right?
can do selective demo, like of trim, things you don't need permits for, replacement of existing windows.
Okay.
You don't need permits for stuff like that. But, you probably would want to do your own due diligence on people that you are hiring. And from my understanding, that has nothing to do with the website. That is on those people to work with one another.
Correct. Yeah, the onus is on the investor, as it always is.
Sure.
And people always think they want to have everyone to be licensed and insured, and that's probably a smart thing. But sometimes in our business, you're going to have people who are not licensed and insured doing things.
Sure.
We'd be foolish if
Yeah.
we'd say otherwise. So anyway, there is that box there. And that box, once you check it, translates to the project when it gets posted. It comes up in bold lettering to the contractor to give them an FYI that's what the real estate investor is expecting. So they should know that before applying. So anyway, that demo project gets posted. As soon as it gets posted, all demo contractors who work in the Manayunk area get an email. And
Oh, so you're pulling local guys.
well, contractors are registered. Demo contractors would, on the other side of this, demo contractors would sign up for DirectSubs.
Okay.
And they would be registered, they would select the categories that they specialize in, which would be demolition and cleanouts. And they would receive an email as soon as a real estate investor posts a project that aligns with what they do.
Okay.
So they select like an area of operation where they
A
operate.
radius, like wherever
Okay.
their office is, they can
nice,
go out
nice.
20 miles, 30 miles, 40 miles. So they would receive an email. They'd be able to log in and review the project. And when the real estate investor wants them to get started, and if they're interested, they would apply to it. They wouldn't know who the real estate investor is.
Yeah.
Not until the real estate investor comes from behind the curtain and kind of engages with them, to kind of keep it clean.
Yeah.
And
This
Not-
is cool though, because now you got to look at it you could look at it from the contractor side.
Yeah.
I'm thinking of it from me as the real estate investor. Like this is almost an a la carte approach. Like, do I need a full general contractor to run the whole job? Do I need X, Y, Z? But
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know there was a whole different approach to the contracting side of the business for you.
Yeah.
Like, how do you go out and grab those? Like, because that's a whole nother separate business.
Well, yeah, that's the thing with a marketplace. Like, you need to bring enough people from both sides to achieve the critical mass for the application to function as it's intended to function. So you got to have enough real estate investors posting projects, and on the flip side, you got to have enough contractors who are registered under the various different scopes of work in order to service the real estate investors. So that's the big problem, coming up with or getting enough people to re-enroll, to repopulate the site. And that's where social media is going to be a big thing.
All right, so
You have to educate people.
You got to
about it.
educate
It's like
people.
everything. You need to educate people.
If
about
you're a
stuff.
contractor, you need to be on there. You know, why not? You're just, even if you're busy and you don't need the product, you don't need the jobs right now, it's good to be on there to see what's out there and see what the opportunity looks like. And
It also gives you opportunity to maybe cherry pick stuff where it's like,
Yes.
where, you know, say you have a lapse in your scheduling as a contractor. You were expecting windows to come in on Tuesday.
Exactly.
And Monday night you get a call, hey, those windows are all broken. You ain't getting them now. Now you have to scramble to place your guys because you want to keep your guys working. So then they can go on there. Oh shit, here's a job. Let me call this person. It might be a good job for them to take.
And it's a relationship.
Sure.
Now you established a relationship that you may not have otherwise established, and you can use that off direct subs moving forward.
Sure.
So now, all right, we get in, we find our demo guy, we're putting the team together. Can you kind of put each person together? Like, hey, I have this vision for a kitchen, bathroom, windows, patio, whatever it is. Is there, you can kind of select what type of scope you're looking to complete?
So yes, everyone that you would need in order to complete a renovation or a new construction project, from the very beginning stages to having the place professionally cleaned,
Wow.
are on there, and it's broken down into categories. So that's where it's a little bit different from like an Angie's List or a Home Advisor.
Yeah,
You know,
which I didn't even want to say the name because, one, I don't know what Angie's List does, but this seems like that kind of a la carte from start to finish service almost.
But that's for homeowners.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's more geared towards homeowners. Like if you're a homeowner and you want, you know, your kitchen redone or like your house repainted, yeah, Angie's List, Home Advisor, that might be great for you. But if you're a real estate investor and looking for investor-friendly contractors who typically work with investors and are priced accordingly, that's what direct subs is for.
Okay.
And it's going to help new real estate investors. It's going to help real estate investors who are maybe working in different locations. Like Nick does a ton of work in Philly. Maybe he goes to Jersey and doesn't have a lot of his subs there. Maybe he would connect with people there via direct subs once direct subs is in Jersey. You know, it would be it's a good tool to leverage and supplement your current list of contacts.
So even like established contractors now, like Nick's crew and them, say they don't have to, you know, if they want to scale their business, they could probably jump on the platform, find more,
Yeah,
you know, because I know you're always dealing with, in your business, not nobody, you don't have a reliable group to pull from all the time, right? I mean, it's difficult to have reliable work.
I could see it being difficult
Yeah,
for people
for
getting
other
into
people,
it. I mean,
yeah.
I've been doing it so long, and CJ's been doing it so long that you know, we have our established people.
Well, your crew, but the run-of-the-mill investor, he buys a place, you're pretty much hitching your wagon to the first or second contact you call, and you can go down
You can make a lot. You can make a
and
lot of mistakes hiring people, and I see it all the time. You see it where people are hiring, you know, these contractors, you know, through word of mouth and this and that, or they're just, you know, finding them somewhere
Yeah.
and they're
Craigslist.
desperately trying to, right.
Yeah.
And then you hear these horror stories.
You got to get a new contract. You wasted X amount of time.
So if
you're
a guy,
far-
I would imagine that if a contractor is setting up on direct subs, they're taking the step to do that. They, especially if they're saying, "Hey, my license ensures I have that availability. This is here." I would imagine that they're going to be a better quality contractor than just some random Craigslist wanted ad.
Well,
You know what I
one,
mean?
if you're willing to do the due diligence to even
To do
jump
all
on
that
a platform
stuff,
like
yeah.
that, you probably have good confidence in your resume, your work.
So two things come with that. Second thing first would be the contractors who are smart, they're going to do well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Direct subs, now you can upload your license, you can upload your insurance, socials, pictures of previously completed projects,
Oh,
a
so like
biography,
they can-
office, website.
That's great.
It's a snapshot of everything.
Oh,
So
wow.
if they're smart, they're going to take advantage of that and you know, upload all that stuff.
So if
And-
you have a guy like Jason, from LK.
Okay, yeah.
He could go on there. He's got all that stuff. He can upload all that stuff, and people can see. There's a link to his Instagram. There's a link to his website. Here's photos of all the jobs he did, and that dude's super active on social media, posting all stuff. So reviews, all that stuff. So somebody could find him on there and say, "Oh wow, here's all the stuff." So that's a great tool for guys who are for hire doing that stuff.
What about, do you do commercial and resi, or you focus on just residential?
Yeah, it's commercial and residential. I mean, if someone's building a low-rise commercial building, 25 stories, whatever.
Not for you.
It's not going to be that, but, it's in the residential, light commercial space. And then the other thing, back to investors, like some investors have 3 projects going, 4 projects going, and the contractors they work with regularly may not be able to service all of them in a timely fashion.
Especially if they're borrowing money at an expensive rate.
Especially. Time is money, and especially nowadays with interest rates the way they are. But, anytime. Time is money, and sometimes you need, real estate is cyclical, and sometimes you need to get that place ready for the spring market, not midsummer market. So time is money in many different ways.
Or if you have a balloon note on,
exactly.
A loan that needs to be paid off at a certain time.
And even if you have a great roofer, maybe you want to keep them honest. Maybe you want to get a couple other proposals just to kind of, that could equate to saving thousands of dollars. And the other goal is I plan on starting to monetize this thing. I don't want to go too far in the weeds with it, but in the very near future, and charging contractors a very small, reasonable amount of money to apply to a project. And that, to me, is going to help weed out a lot of people.
So is this just...
Weeds out the knuckleheads.
Yeah.
This is for free for the investor and the contractor?
Right now it is, and it was before, and that was probably one of the big problems. It was free, and when you have something with no barrier to entry, you have sometimes bad apples who will try to take advantage of a situation.
I almost think that you could weed out so there's always this mindset that when people are hiring contractors, they're interviewing the contractors and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If it's a good contractor, they're interviewing you to see if they want to work for you. And a lot of people don't realize that shit, because how many jobs have you heard me pass up on, even when I was doing kitchens and baths? A lot.
When the investor thinks they're in the driver's seat, they're telling you, it's a challenge.
When realistically, I was coming to your house and I was like, I have when I was doing kitchens and baths, I had so many that I was like, yeah, I don't want to work for you. And I would get that gist of them, and I would interview them, meet them, and be like, yeah, we ain't going to be a good match. Yeah. Like, you're going to be a pain in my ass. I ain't working for you.
Can't be 3 months of hell here.
I'm not going to work for you.
Yeah.
So there's that. People don't realize that. So, you want the contractor to have all their shit together. You want the contractor to be licensed, insured, have a social media presence, have all the, these references for you. Where's your fucking reference? Mm-hmm. So that's what I'm looking at, and I almost think that the people posting the photos, because I know of nightmare investors that I would never work for.
Do you guys have that where you show the investor's experience, or do you not care about that?
The investor does have their profile as well.
Okay.
So there is that capability to review the investor after the investor engages the contractor to where the contractor knows who it is.
Okay.
Like initially it's a blind posting. You just see the project and project details. You don't see the investor out the gate. What do you think about that?
I actually like it because I think, look, everybody gets a start somewhere, right?
Do you think I should be making it completely visible, like who the investor is to posting the project?
No, I don't
initially?
think so. I think it's probably paramount to many investors that they kind of remain, anonymous a little bit.
Out the gate.
Out the gate.
Yeah.
And then once you establish that relationship, all right, let's get out from behind the curtain, meet one another. You're going to be a team anyway. You're in it to make money.
Yes.
So, I don't think on the first, interaction, I don't think anything needs to be kind of public knowledge, right?
Yeah.
You're just kind of... I think that's the beauty about the site, right?
Yeah, me too.
Because when I go to call a bunch of people that I think are, neighborhood contractors that are going to hook me up, well, then I find myself in a weird predicament. I'm like, shit, I called 3 guys, and now what the hell do I do? Because I got to break 2 of them off that I'm not using them.
Yeah, it's slippery.
Right? So it's slippery. It's like, I feel bad for breaking up with somebody I didn't even have a relationship with.
Yeah.
And I'm the one giving them money. So no, I think it's a great idea. I think that's the beauty of the site.
I think people should be honest too. Like, hey, I'm I'm having other people come in and look at this work
Yeah.
and bid this work.
Shouldn't feel
If
bad
you're
about getting
honest,
guys having better work, and you say it all the time. Like, I might not be the cheapest guy,
I'm
and I
not
say
going
it
to
in
be.
my job. I'm like, look, we're not going to be the cheapest shop, but our service is good, it's better than everybody's. Same old thing. But we're going to get it to the finish line, just like you guys. You're flat out honest. Like, hey, we're not going to be the cheapest shop, but we're going to get it done. It's going to be clean. You're never going to have to call us again, more or less, and that's it.
Yeah, when I was doing work for people, I would just flat out tell them, just be honest. If you're getting other bids, cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be the cheapest.
Yeah, but I can't imagine
I'm
all
going to
contractors
be-
are not cool like that.
I'm going
That's
to be
what I'm
one of the
saying.
best.
Like, as an investor, when you start asking these questions, well, local guys talk to one another.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
Yeah.
hey, Dolan called me, and he's looking there, and they talk to one another. So you're hurting feelings somewhere when it should be strictly business. That's why I like direct subs.
You
for
can't
what it
have
is.
emotions. You can't have emotions in this shit, man.
Well, it's
Emotions
emotional.
and
If you put up your
emotions and-
200K cash, like if I have 200K to my name and I'm putting it up, that shit's emotional.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking about meeting some guy and you're going to break up with him before you even hire him. It's like, for me, there's no emotions in that part of it. It's just it's emotionless, and that's how I feel like you have to be to get ahead with that kind of stuff. And I always say, like, there's no emotions in business. There is emotions at certain points. Like, yeah, you got 200 grand on the line. Like, you got some fucking emotional attachment
Or
there.
the
But
contractor, what if he hasn't had a job or he's laid off from the union? I mean, desperation's crazy, right?
sure.
It's a wild ass thing. So you may be getting somebody at what you think's a good price, and this guy's out of work for one reason or another. You might get shit quality on top of it.
there's some really used car salesmen out there. And if
Yeah,
it sounds
yeah.
too good to be true, and they're like, yeah, I can start next week. If a contractor can start next week,
Yeah.
they're probably not good. Now, there's certain contractors who can start next week. A lot of times you can get a roofer quickly. You can get demo and clean out guys quickly because their jobs are 1 and 2 day jobs, 3 day jobs, 4 day jobs max usually.
Yeah.
So those guys, especially if you're like, hey, I really need it, they can then say, hey, well, I have these other jobs lined up, but that's not a rush. So I can push that job a couple
Sure.
days, and they can call customers. So they're the type of guys who you can get in. Now, if you're looking to have a kitchen, a bathroom, and you're like, hey, I need it done in 2 weeks, and someone's like, yeah, I'm available, they suck.
Yeah.
They fucking suck.
Yeah, timeline availability, I should say, is not necessarily indicative of the quality of the contractor. Not always, but sometimes, it's situational.
Sure.
And like a lot of,
You can get a cancellation, and you can get somebody
yeah.
at the right spot.
yeah. And things, come up like, you mentioned a minute ago, you always hear these horror stories about contractors, but there's a lot of horror stories about real estate investors too that have,
Yes.
they,
Yeah,
they
Nick
have
does
no
let me know
clue.
about it. I didn't realize how bad we are sometimes when
And-
we kind of get into our things and we're desperate and we're under some bullshit time crunch and we must make contractors' lives hell.
I mean, we don't know what we don't know. And in hindsight, I look back at what I knew or thought I knew when I was just starting out, and I was oblivious to so many things. The smarter you get, the dumber you realize you are, at least myself, so, everyone needs to, you just need to over communicate. And
So I'm trying to, like, as a consumer, or an investor, I'm wrapping my head around almost, it's kind of like a mix between like a dating site and an Uber
Yeah.
Eats as far as for
Yeah.
contractors, because
Yeah.
contractors can scoop pretty much unlimited work if they're smart enough and they can delegate their crews.
They can.
So they can just pick up whatever.
Yeah.
This is like free overtime sitting right in front of your face if you're a hustler.
it's free to join, free to use right now, and when it does cost money, it'll be a small amount of money that the contractor will only need to pay if he sees a job that aligns with what he does for a living in the area that he services.
Sure.
So it's a no-brainer.
And if it's a small fee, build it into the job. I mean,
It's advertising.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you spend
Spend money to make a
$500
little
in
bit
a
of money,
year
yeah. I mean,
and
come
you
on.
land one project and you have, a new relationship out of it too that could translate to other relationships. Like, think about that opportunity. So it makes sense for everybody. I think in the industry, there's a disconnect between the two. Direct subs will help bridge that gap, and it'll be a benefit to everybody.
So
I think.
as you go through it, let's finish up that scenario then. So as we're going through it, we picked a team. They're kind of going through the house. So the payment obviously is agreed between the investor and the contractor away from direct subs.
Correct.
Right? The monetary stuff is
Yes.
okay. So are you just kind of bridging the gap, setting them up, and then you're kind of exit stage left? You guys don't care about completion, anything like that?
So yes and no. Yes, as in that's where it's like a dating site. It's meant to just connect the two parties, and it's up to them to work out contractual obligations, pricing, you know,
Timelines,
yeah, timelines, all that stuff. I mean, construction
expectations.
expectations, that's a huge one, Nick, you know, and construction is
Sounding
so,
like a very good dating site to me.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's so situational, construction, you know, this whole world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not binary. It's very complicated.
Now, do you have a review
That's
process
where I
on
was
there
going with
afterwards? So
yes.
if they are a shitty date, you can say, hey, or
Yeah.
if it was a great date and they blew your socks off and it was a fantastic time and experience, you can say, this is an awesome experience with this person.
Yes.
On both sides. Can the contractor review the investor and the investor review the contractor?
Yes, yes, and yes. So when the project is complete, both parties can complete the project on DirectSubs.
Like a Google review.
Exactly.
Okay.
As soon as that's done, the real estate investor can review the contractor. The contractor can review the real estate investor.
Fantastic.
That rating will aggregate with their other ratings and follow that user throughout their life on DirectSubs.
Fantastic.
And there's no capability of writing anything. I felt that was a slippery slope. So it's basically 1 through 5 star. How likely are you to work with this person again?
Okay.
And to me, that's the question, right? That
And,
sums it
and
up.
that's fair enough, right? You don't need to know the ins and outs of
Yeah.
every transaction. Look, they go up, they go down, they're hot. You're never going to get through a construction process where there's not a disagreement, where there's not
Yeah.
a vision that's not picked up
It's
on.
all
So
about how
it-
those disagreements are handled.
Look, you know, in the professionals get through, and if it's handled poorly, you'll get a 2. If it's handled
Yeah.
great, you'll get a 5. I don't think anybody needs to know the ins and outs of someone else's transaction and what goes wrong there. That could be terrible if you let that
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
I would think that would be awful. Every bad date gone wrong would be get a 1 star, and your website would be like Facebook, more or less.
How about it?
But
Well, that reminds me of something there where, like, Google reviews and stuff like that. Like, a lot of people don't realize, like, something as simple as a Google review goes a long way for small businesses.
Sure.
If you are, so I do a lot of jiu-jitsu, and I visit other gyms, and I'll drop in. And I may not be a member there. Sometimes they let you drop in for free. What I'll do is I'll buy a T-shirt or I'll buy a hat, and I'll leave a Google review if I had a great experience. And I'll put a 5-star, great, trainers are great, mats are clean, great, whatever my experience. That goes a long way to a small business. And you can do that with contractors. And the other thing too is, like, I can't tell you how many of my friends and people that I encounter are like, man, I've been listening to the show. I love it. I'm like, oh yeah? You comment on any of our social media? No? I mean, why not? Because people don't want to do that. They feel uncomfortable doing that.
Yeah.
So that's how you can help small businesses. You can
give us some likes, give us some shares. I know you're watching. We see the views.
You can like their Instagram. You can like YouTube stuff. And I used to watch videos. I'm like, why are all these people asking, like, oh, like, subscribe, comment? Now that we're putting YouTube videos out there, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
That makes sense, because that's how you get feedback. And then it's kind of like a pain. It's almost like a pain in the ass, because then your friends and people you encounter are like, man, I watch the show, and I'm like, I'm looking at all this stuff like, I never seen you comment on shit or like anything, but you're telling me stuff and we're having conversations. But that's how you can do your friends that own businesses too. Go to Google reviews. If you like a hoagie, you get a hoagie from T&F. You probably never even thought about it. Take 2 seconds while you're eating that hoagie and go on a Google review. Best hoagie I ever had.
Yeah, it's
You know
the
what I mean?
simple thing.
I've been starting to do that now since we've been doing this show, and it's made me realize, like, oh shit, I didn't realize that I could really support my friends and businesses that I like just by liking and commenting. I didn't realize that.
I mean, one, it's how the consumer gets most of their information now anyway. Right?
Sure.
It's like, realistically, we're fortunate to have a lot of connections and grow up in a tight-knit community that has a lot of different jacks of all trades, right? There's tons of people that we do their financing for that have not a single person that goes to that. That's why I always thought, when you brought this up to us, years back, I thought it was so fascinating, because I was in the middle of one of those projects, like a novice, super novice green investor, thought he knew everything.
Yeah.
I would have probably got a 1 star, I would think, for sure. But you're hiring contractors, you're firing them because you don't know what to do. It's because, well, you don't know how to run a job. You didn't hire the right people. So I think this is invaluable, especially in our area where the flip game is massive, right? It's not everybody's building from the ground up. So it keeps the novice to intermediate investor in the game, but it seems like it keeps any level contractor available for work.
Yeah.
Can somebody go on there that's an investor that says, "Hey, I'm just too busy to be on job sites all the time.
Looking for a
A
GC.
GC. Is there
Yes.
opportunities for GC to handle the entire thing?"
Yeah, that was a big thing. And in the early days, I noticed a lot of people were posting projects under general requests for exactly that. People that wanted a GC to handle everything turnkey, whether it was they had a lot and they wanted somebody to develop it, build a new construction house there, or if they had a couple properties and did not want to do anything. They just wanted to hire a GC, pull the permits, get the tax abatement, do the renovations, charge a fee, be done with it. So now there is a special category for that. I have a few special like premium categories that right now are free, but will cost money in the near future. And someone can connect with a GC for a whole project, which could be a $200,000 job.
Yeah.
And it will be a very small, reasonable fee for that opportunity when the time comes.
I'd imagine the kind of more silent investor, the hands-off investor, that would probably appeal to more, who's just in it for cash.
Yeah, there's
And
plenty of people like that, and
Yeah,
that's okay.
there is,
They're
but
money guys.
They just want a quick
Yeah.
churn and burn it. They
Yeah.
could care less about the
Yeah.
project.
They're going to spend a
the
little bit
family.
more, but it's less time on them.
Exactly, sure. But I could also see another part I like about the kind of picking and selecting and interviewing is, well, people want to learn. If it's going to be their first project, you're training right there by hiring these people that you otherwise wouldn't even know. Oh crap, I need to hire this person. Like,
having that opportunity and even seeing the categories within the drop down gives the people that have no idea at least some of the things that they should be looking out for. Like I didn't know I needed a HVAC guy, electrician, and plumber separately. I thought maybe one guy would do it all, and
there's a couple investors, I'm sure, that sell homes to people that have no idea, and
Yeah.
you're doing good by the buyer, right? Ultimately, without knowing who the hell it is, but you're making sure they're moving into a quality home that you kind of put a team together to build. I think it's a great idea.
thank you.
I also think people need to be careful of guys who say, "Oh yeah, I do it all. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do electric. Yeah, I do HVAC. Yeah, I do plumbing. I do carpentry. I do tile. I do like." Be careful of those people because they're just not. They just want money. They're just wanting to say, "Yeah, I know," and they're watching YouTube videos to learn how to do it because they just don't want to tell you they don't know how to do it.
You have to do your due diligence.
So like when you say that, I find, because we go to you guys because you're the professionals, right? So you go to a GC. The GC, people think, is doing each individual task and all that stuff. A good GC is delegating the task, hiring the correct people, then going out and facilitating more jobs. Correct?
I haven't put a tool belt on since Matt's house.
I think we can all tell.
Yeah,
You got the nice shoes on. You got
seriously. So I only put it on there, and my guys were like, "What's that?" They're like, "What are you wearing there?" I was like, "I'm working here." They're like, "No, you ain't. You ain't working with us." I'm like, "The fuck I ain't. I'm fucking working here, right?" So it's like, but I don't do HVAC. I know a lot about HVAC. I grew up doing it with my dad.
Sure.
I don't do plumbing. I know a little bit about plumbing. I know enough from being around fucking Joe, who's like damn near my fucking uncle at this point. I being around plumbing my whole life. I'm not doing that stuff. I know about it, and I know enough about it to hire the right people.
But you're
and to know
making more
what's right
money
and
when you're
wrong.
delegating tasks. You're
Yeah.
getting the job, and you're letting the professionals kind of do it, and you stay in your lane, right?
Correct.
And again, you could go both ways on your site, which is knocked out, because I think all of our investors need to hear it. I think one, how you get to construction guys is, got to be a challenging thing. But two, you should get to lenders and real estate agents a lot more to spread the word about this platform.
Yeah, we're going to start letting them advertise for free on the site.
I certainly
There's going to
would,
be,
because I think there's a really big, mass that you could touch, a target audience that you could touch, because right now some of these listing agents got crappy properties. The inventory is no secret. It's not great, right?
Yeah.
And they're sitting. And again, that's money and more mortgage payments for the seller. Like, they should link up with the direct subs. That way a lender and a real estate agent can talk, and they can do a 203K construction loan. They can do a conventional home style loan.
Can you explain 203K real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So, basically there's two types of financing options in your primary name. There's an FHA 203K loan where you can put 3.5% down. It's got to be your primary residence, but you can buy a fixer-upper, right, and not have anybody to go. And this is the biggest problem with us when we do 203K loans. they can't find a licensed and insured contractor that's reputable, that can meet the demands of the draws from the mortgage company. I mean, they're a nightmare if you don't have the right team. So that's why, to me, my eyes lit up when you told me this idea. Like, I wouldn't write a 203K loan unless they probably went on DirectSubs, or they brought me somebody that I knew could get this done, because
Sure.
they're a player in the game, in the transaction.
So somebody like me that has a little bit more time on their hands because of the workload and the processes are in place. I'm a licensed and insured contractor. I could sign up on DirectSubs. I could also hook up with a lending company that does 203Ks and say, hey, I'm a licensed and insured GC, right? I can handle the 203K loan, because that's what you guys need. You need a licensed and insured GC. Then I can then hire electricians, plumbers, carpenters, demo guys off of DirectSubs without even doing the work myself, and just manage it by that, and not even have the workload on my guys.
Think about it now, because we're
know what I
on to
mean?
something, and that might be a job. Otherwise, if you weren't staffed up, you would pass.
Sure.
I mean, so now you can kind of just, all right, sit there. Shit, I'm just going to put this team together through DirectSubs, make sure they're the right quality guys, have it linked up through, and we're just passing everything through each other.
Sure.
You're just passing it through
What are
me.
the timelines on 203K loans?
203K loans, if you have the right team, you can get them done from 45 to 60 days, right? That's the
What
realistic.
are the timelines of people are expecting, home buyers are expecting, and the lenders are expecting, so they settle on January 1st.
Okay.
They have everything in place. They have a licensed and insured contractor. They're settling on July 1st. When do they anticipate that job being done? By January 1st the next year? Do you have like a timeline, 6 months to a year?
So what we'll
is it?
do is, you'll stagger out the draws and you'll put the scope of work. The general contractor, so in an FHA case, they'll consult with a HUD consultant. And your bid's $100,000 to renovate this house. And the HUD consultant says, I don't know, man, this seems like a
So I'm just
75.
painting into a floor. Is that what you're saying?
Painting doing floors for 100 G's, huh? No, so the HUD consultant will say, Nick, that's probably 50 grand, right? And you got to meet in the middle, right? Because these are the guys that are kind of watching you, making sure you're doing right by the consumer and making sure the bids. But your point that I've never even thought about is brilliant. It's like, as a general contractor, you should be utilizing this site and picking up 203K loans, because I'm telling you, quite honestly, I don't think I would write as many just because the quality of the insured and general licensed contractor. But there's also conventional ones as well, but they're great programs, right?
Yeah,
Because the
sure.
inventory stinks right now. Prices are high. And the problem with me, you always say it, how many people looked at this house on one the other day that came
Yeah,
up
I
in
called you.
Lafayette Hill. And I said, believe it or not, 5 years ago, every investor under the sun would have been calling me, or every buyer. Now the buyers just simply don't want to do it. It's too expensive to do it, or they don't know how.
They'd rather buy it off of me.
They'd
fully
rather buy it
redone.
off you, pay the premium,
Sure.
not know, but look, that's how you get jammed up. That's how you get mortgage payments you don't want. That's how you get, you got a quality house and you don't have to do any work to it. But whatever happened to being like the entrepreneur, let's get dirty, let's make some money, let's have some sweat equity in this
It's
thing.
very difficult.
Let's have some sweat equity and you guys just do all the work.
It's very difficult for people to buy a home that they're going to live in and do work on it. Like, there's not many people doing that anymore.
It's crazy.
And so many people are away from the trades anymore. Like, so many people are pushed towards college that, they're not replacing the amount of people going in. The numbers are staggering. So, the guys that are good, that are working on homes, and
Yeah. They're doing really well.
Booked
Kicking
out.
ass.
They're
Yeah.
booked out. I mean, listen, every good electrician I know has a shore house and a brand new truck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah,
So-
I hang out at them. Yeah. I don't. But no, man. Like we said, just tell people how they can. Step one. Where can we get a hold of DirectSubs, or how can we get onto it?
So they would go to directsubs.com.
Okay,
Go to directsubs.com.
that's it. We're
Sign
gonna
up.
throw that thing up there, and look.
What's the Instagram?
At DirectSubs. All socials at DirectSubs. Yeah,
And
sign up.
you always say to me that you say this one simple line all the time, like, because we've butchered it before talking about it, and you say DirectSubs connects investors,
connects
real estate investors, and contractors.
real estate investors with local contractors. That's it.
That's as simple as it gets.
Yeah.
Now, one thing you mentioned earlier, I didn't even realize, like, I take it for granted, like the vast knowledge and experience of some of my friends. And you've been doing real estate investing for 20, 25 years. So you were in it and established before the 07, 08 drop.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Before
Yeah.
HGTV,
Yeah.
all that crap, you were
Yeah,
in it.
yeah,
Before
One, you look way
before
damn too
Instagram.
young to be in the
Yeah.
game for
Ah,
25
thank
years.
It
you.
looks the same.
That's-
man.
that's
the hell you
guy,
not
doesn't,
straight-
guy doesn't fucking age.
That's what you say to all your guests.
Yeah, right. So, but you were in it before it crashed, and you were established before it crashed. Like, what? I never even asked you this question before. What made you get into real estate? Like, what was interesting about real estate investing and all that stuff to you? What was the first thing that you got into?
Well, the first thing was an opportunity to buy a house in Manayunk for, at the time, what I thought was a really good price, and I seized the opportunity. The house needed a lot of work. The goal was to do a lot of work myself, hire my family to help me with the things that I did not know about.
We all know how that goes.
Exactly. It went exactly how you can imagine. My lovely Manayunk roots.
They don't show
Anyway.
up to work Monday and they don't show up to work Friday, more or less.
It was a
Tuesday, they're still drunk.
yeah. It was a learning opportunity.
Sure.
So
And I'm sure that price back then, I would probably cut off a
Buy
leg.
the whole block.
Yeah,
Cut off
yeah,
a
yeah.
Buy
leg
the whole
to buy
block in
it.
this sport. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
So got the house completed through a lot of hard work, rented it out, refinanced it because I had a friend tell me that she would be able to refinance it for me and I'd be able to use that money to buy something else. That's what I did. The something else I ended up fixing up and selling it and making a little bit of a profit. And that's when like the light bulb went off and I did it again and again.
Oh, shit.
And then brought on a partner, and then him and I brought on two other partners. We got into doing new construction, a lot of
Which the first partner was Steve.
Steve,
O.
yes. Yeah, one of my best friends.
Yeah.
And, we went to kindergarten together. So then him and I linked up, and then,
Very intelligent dude.
yes.
And you guys did amazing. You guys did incredible projects throughout the neighborhood.
We did, yeah. Steve and I ventured into the city, and then we partnered with Andy
Andy.
and his dad, and that was great.
The most knowledgeable
Learned
construction
Yeah,
duo
it's
I've
great.
ever encountered.
100%.
It's unbelievable the knowledge in them two, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I learned a lot, especially about the new construction process, which was a different animal to me at the time, from Andy and his dad. I think I speak for Steve as well. We both did. That was their wheelhouse.
Sure.
And they were great at it. And, I've been fortunate to have great friends, great partners. Fast forward, the four of us went on to do a lot of stuff, went on to partner with even other people, do larger things. And then a little time after that, I decided to take a step back and kind of focus on just doing smaller projects again.
You were involved in the whole St. Lucy's and Green
Correct.
Lane development,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So you wanted to step back, do individual projects, what, flips, rentals?
Yeah, just acquire single family houses in gentrifying areas and completely renovate them, get them get tax abatements approved for them and rent them out to young professionals in appreciating areas.
Is that because of those bigger projects now? They're great when they're done, and they're great to look back at when they're done, but it's a lot of time, it's a lot of stress.
A lot of placating neighbors, a lot of bullshit.
A lot of stress.
And it was becoming less and less stimulating for me.
Sure.
To do that, and the monotony associated with it as well. I mean, they're glamorous and they're great,
Sure.
and a lot of people, I'm probably the exception with my, position there, but it was time for a change. So I made a change and just kind of took a step back and
Those
focused on-
projects are great to look at, right? But they are huge money vacuums where what I mean by that is like, it's the whole, like Milady always says, chicken or feathers. Like we have this great opportunity coming up. Guys, do we want to invest in this? And you and your partner say yes, and you go in on it. Your bank account goes super lean.
Oh, yeah.
And then it goes heavy. And then there's another one that goes super lean again. One day you're eating chicken. The next day you're eating feathers. And that's the type of shit that's, it's scary. And they're like, if they go wrong, you're done.
Yeah, it was a lot
It's
in
a
the
wrap.
beginning, even like the small converting St. Lucy's to 14 units, like that was at the time like kind of a big thing.
It was like a revolutionary project, kind of in our area. It really was.
We had to deal with neighbors and union trying to come around, doing.
And you
union
probably had
thing.
all alumni and neighborhood people. Like, you're the worst people on earth, I'm sure.
It was a dynamic, but you also have people who appreciate it. But
then,
hindsight.
And then they got people like me that are just playing off of those people, busting their balls like, you piece of shit, you ruined our church. We went to school there, you piece. And I'm just fucking with
No,
them.
I think it's great because these were sitting in the neighborhood for a while, right? Not being utilized. You want to pay homage to them, right? Instead, you could easily be the developer that says, guess what? We're going to placate to all the neighbors, like you said, and we're going to knock this thing down regardless. So. No, I mean, you guys have always done great, and we've discussed your partnerships before.
Sure.
But so you mentioned something about keeping stimulating. So let's put you on the hot seat. What do you do kind of keep you stimulated outside of the real estate world? Let's get a little personal.
Well, I like to learn. I like to exercise. Learning can be reading. It can be podcasts, which.
You're the one got me into the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, and it's going great.
The first podcast episode I ever listened to was CJ, and I told him, I said, if I were listening to one, I'll listen to your episode, and I did, and then here we are hosting one. You know what I mean?
Thank you for that. So yeah, I mean, exercise, travel. Being I'm lucky to have. I'm lucky in a lot of ways, but you three guys, you two and Danny, the friends I have and the opportunities that I have, I try not to lose sight of them. And, it sounds cheesy and it's like fashionable, gratitude. People throw all that, that word around a lot, but just try to realize, how lucky a lot of us are with what we have.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you're a humble guy, and I'll give you a brag here. You're the founder of this show. This show was, brought to us. I was actually a guest on the show. And
you were.
And, as we
great episode.
Yeah, it was great. And as we became, friends and, we go to the Phillies games together and things like that. Yeah. We chat a lot, professionally and kind of friendship-wise. And you brought the idea, hey, you want to be a host of a podcast? I'm like, well, no, not at all. Like, pretty private about mine. But, as all guests come on here, we're learning a lot of things. I think we're doing a good service. People listen, right? Like, people are in tune. They want to know about this stuff. I think DirectSubs, again, and I will bring it to everybody, like, it's great because we're in a world full of know-it-alls, or you could just Google everything and you think you could run the show. This should, and then when you lose in a real estate deal, that should humble the shit out of you, right?
Yeah.
So this is like a program that I think is just incredible.
It's funny how easy people think it is by watching these shows.
Yeah.
Oh my God, shows, they do a disservice to the industry.
And then they see.
And you saw it, right? You were in the game before the shows, and then you were in the game when everybody got in.
Yeah.
And look, you can make mistakes back then because the acquisition point was low, right? And cost of doing jobs is low.
Sure.
The game has totally changed.
Yeah.
Acquisition's next to impossible, right? You're efficient with a bunch of sharks. Labor, everyone's going to say labor costs is up, material costs are up. It could be true, could be not. How the hell would anybody know? Mm-hmm. So, you're doing like the Lord's work on this thing because guys like us get ripped off all the time by people that you think are hooking you up or think are doing the right by you. So, no, that's awesome, man. And, so you said, health and wellness. You telling the audience that you're jumping in a cold plunge after the show or what?
Oh, that's funny. I did, Nick invited
Nick
Ryan
is the
and
cold plunge and hot sauna guy. So.
I mean, I'm hot sauna all day long. That's my happy place.
Full disclosure, I'm doing my first plunge today. We're going sub 40, I think.
I might. But the sauna, I mean, I love the sauna. Never did the cold plunge, as you guys know. Maybe
keeps the mind right. No, but you're never, and really, I mean this. You're a very even keel, super cool guy. I know you listen more than you speak, but when you open up to people, you're funny as hell. You're, obviously easy on the eyes, He's
a wealth of knowledge.
No, I mean, you are. You just know so much stuff. You would look at you and say, well, what the hell does this guy know about construction, real estate, running businesses, platforms, all this stuff, technology? But you're like insanely sneaky smart.
Yeah,
so,
thank you for that.
Yeah, man. Well, so the learning part is a big deal.
You dive deep into things. you know, if I want to learn about something, like I'll call CJ and I'm like, what do you know about fasting? Or we know what this, and he does all the research on
does
stuff.
know a lot.
So he knows, like, and he's telling how much time you got, and then he starts talking to you about stuff, and I learn a lot from that kind of stuff. And the other thing, I like always bouncing ideas off of CJ because he thinks differently than I do.
He does. He thinks completely different. I brought, like, when we first had bought that hotel, the building for the hotel, I obviously didn't know what I was doing. But I called him, you know, and your mind just goes to people that you know for some reason or another will have valuable input on, like, what to do.
Or a solution.
Yeah, or a solution or something you're just not thinking of. So
Yeah.
we were chatting at one of the World Series games or Phillies games that we were fortunate enough to have an amazing run and build our friendship and
How about
partnership. You know, so, like, and he's telling me things that I'm like, crap, we didn't think of that, we didn't think of that, we didn't think of that. And then you bring it to your team, and then, well, one, I look like a rock star.
Yeah.
And then two, it's like, you just have a wealth of a wide knowledge of crazy stuff. So,
Well, me and C have conversations all the time, and it goes both ways. Like, I'll be like, man, I never thought of it that way. And he'll say the same thing to me, like, never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
And because we approach things differently.
Complementary.
Which is great to have people around, and I'm very appreciative of it. It's great to have people around that you can bounce these different ideas off of. Like, you know, if I'm stuck on something construction-wise, I call Andy. Now, I know I'm going to get an hour-long,
Yeah.
you know,
More than you bargained for.
PhD level lesson on a 2x4.
Yeah.
But, you know, I have the ability to call him, which I'm so appreciative of. His dad, my dad. There's things where, like, layout stuff like that I've called you on. You know, Steve O with, like, business and his mindset and the way he thinks. He's very quiet and, like, takes things in. And then you can see him thinking about the answer. And so it's like, you know, like, I'm lucky enough to have, like, surrounded by these guys, which is fucking great. I mean, it's elevated me so much.
I mean, I'm sitting here on a podcast with, you know, two guys that I've always looked up to and respected. So it's, like, cool to think like that, right? Like, humble beginnings as we kind of start. I'm like, and now you kind of learn and he brings you in a little bit. But no, man. So what's next? Because I know the gears are always turning with you. So what's next?
I mean, what's next?
I mean, you got a lot on the plate, right? You can enjoy it. You can say, hey, I'm just enjoying time right now because you got a ton going on. You're still a real estate investor yourself, and you got multiple businesses.
Yeah, I think the Atomic Real Estate Show, I'm looking forward to us for having a fantastic season 3. DirectSubs, I'm looking forward to getting that up and running again in its new form, and executing better. Looking to stay healthy, God willing. You know, I mean, what else? Looking to learn, looking to travel.
Even that answer, well thought out, well everything.
He
doesn't give the scripted one he goes for. He's thinking really.
Not to put you on the spot, but with 20, 25 plus years in this game,
Yeah.
what's like a pretty shitty project that you've been involved in? Like, what is something that, like, happened that, like, sticks back in your mind? You're like, man, this was a big mistake, or like something that like really made you learn from something. Like, is there anything that stands out to you in those? I know that's like a on the spot type of question, but
So I've been fortunate to where I haven't lost anything on a project. There's been a couple projects, like one in Grace Ferry comes to mind, that needed more than I thought. And I caught myself at the time buying it just to buy, like more emotionally buying as opposed to, like, should I really buy this? Do I need to buy this right now? Sometimes you just get in that mental, I need to buy something to feel busy,
to feel relevant.
Yeah. Thank
Too
you.
many people
Thank
make
you.
that mistake, man.
And
We talk about that all the time.
All the time, yeah.
yeah, it performs well. It does well. But, you know, I do recall on a couple occasions thinking to myself, like, you know, I could have passed on this.
Yeah.
Put the money somewhere else. But I've been fortunate.
So you've been fortunate, but what we're trying to do with DirectSubs is now we're trying to make investors not a statistic here, not somebody that gets in the game,
Just to
loses
give-
some money,
yeah.
and just give them a little bit of that head start to get successful here.
It's just connectivity.
Yeah.
Give people a little bit more optionality. Investors will have a better opportunity to have more dialogue with contractors of all different types, have, you know, more conversations, get more prices, learn more from that. And contractors will have more opportunity to connect with more investors. And it's just the connectivity. It's just a good thing for everybody. And yeah.
CJ's bringing people together, babe.
Besides being overly communicative, which you've mentioned here, I like that term.
Sure.
Overly communicative in business. What's another good tip that you can think of to give investors to kind of like go by? Overly communicative is fantastic. Like, you can't communicate too much. It's like a relationship. I mean, between men and women, or whatever nowadays, between people, you can never over communicate in relationships. So that really translates into our field. Expectations, like laying everything out. What else do you have?
So make sure the ladder you're climbing is up against the right wall. Meaning, do you want to do a long-term hold? Like, what's your motivation? What's your exit plan? Are you looking for more money, more,
More money, more bitches? What are we talking about here? Talking about Biggie? What are we saying?
No, I mean, you have to have a philosophy as you're going into. What was that quote you just said? The ladder. Go ahead, say that one more time.
I like that.
Yes, I know. We're going to label this episode.
Yeah, I like this.
Make sure the ladder you're climbing is up against the right wall.
That's
so just
deep.
Your motivation behind what you're doing. Is it a rental? Is it a flip? Are you looking to get more money more sooner?
Don't just buy just to buy.
Yeah, don't just buy just
feel
to buy.
relevant.
Be patient. Be poised. Don't rush into hiring the first person. That's what I mean by patience. Take your time.
Too many people make that mistake, and like you like when I asked you what mistakes you made, and that was the one that came to mind. I've done that before, where you're buying just to buy, and people are doing it too much. But I see the same people just keep doing it, and it's like
I've made a lot of mistakes too, and we all do. But what you need to making mistakes is not a bad thing. Failing is, and look, we don't want to fail, but if you're not failing at anything, are you trying with anything?
Sure, it's learning from.
You got to learn from it. Yeah, you just can't continuously fail at the same thing in different ways. You need to learn from your mistakes and carry it forward.
I see too many investors just chasing their tail, where they're not making what they expected to, right? And they just buy to stay relevant, and they're like, oh, I'll get it on the next one. I'll get it on the next one.
Yeah.
And it's like, you keep making the same mistake. Why do you keep doing this? Like, you're investing, all this money to make a 15, 20, 30K profit. What are you doing? It makes no fucking sense to me.
Well, history repeats itself, right? The market's going to correct at some point or time, or something's going to happen. A lot of those people get bumped out. Then they live and they learn, and like you said, if you're putting your family at risk, it's a big deal. If you're doing it just to stay relevant, just to stay active on social media, whatever it is.
Just to say that your house
freaking
flipping,
insane.
It makes no sense
But
to me.
look, dude, we are like thank you for coming on. It's taken us a few months to get him on here.
Yeah.
But really, we meant it when we wanted to get you on, because you have so much value to add to the listeners, and really, you kind of make the show go where it's at. So
it's a collective effort.
I had a hard push phone call with
I
him
know.
yesterday.
I didn't even want to call him. But
we had some motivational speaking. I'm outside of a job saying motivational speaking to him. Like, you can do this.
It's unbelievable. I mean, one day, seriously, we're sitting around just kind of messing around at a Phillies game, and now we're done one full season of a podcast.
Yeah.
Like, did you ever think you were going to be doing a full podcast? Never. I mean, I didn't either. And it's been fun, and I hope our people have learned a lot this year. Our listeners, all of our guests have been badass.
And now all the people that kept asking me, when are you going to get C on? Well, C's on now.
Yeah.
There he goes.
He's
So
done. It's
now
done.
we will definitely know if you don't comment in post, because he called you out on it.
Yeah.
So either way, it's been awesome having you on. Really,
Thank you.
I like obviously business partner in this, and friends first and foremost. You're a great guy. Yeah, dude, I'm looking to see where this thing goes, and I'm rooting for you and for your continued success, man.
I appreciate that. That shirt looks great on you, by the way.
It does, man. Look at that. I got to get some push-ups in. All right, guys. Well, it was an awesome season, awesome episode. Again, reach out to directsubs.com to find out more if you're an investor, if you're a contractor. Look back, like all of our episodes, share them. Please tell your friends about us. We're really excited. It was our first time, and I hope we added some value, and I hope you guys have a good one, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
If you enjoyed our episode, please consider supporting the show by rating and reviewing the podcast.
Also, check us out on Instagram at Atomic Real Estate Show to find out when new shows drop and to participate in our community Q&As. The Atomic Real Estate Show was brought to you by DirectSubs. DirectSubs is the #1 place for real estate investors to connect with local contractors for their flips, rentals, renovations, and new construction projects.